Mommispace, a place where you can remember who you are in the midst of it all. This podcast gives moms of all stages a voice to share their experiences and the truth that there is no right way to mom.
Those eyes are getting older, and your beauty is growing.
Welcome back. Happy New Year. This is Bree, your hostess, and I'm so excited that you decided to tune in to this first episode of the new year. I had this desire to expand the content that I was sharing, and I got a lot of feedback from you guys on Instagram and Facebook, different things that you wanted to hear and talk about. And so Mommispace is now stepping into a new stage this year featuring seasons. So what that means essentially is that I'm going to break up the next 12 months and feature specific categories that you have asked for or that I have felt prompted to talk more about because of previous conversations I've had on the podcast. So I'm so grateful to you for tuning in to this very first podcast episode. This season for January is featuring the generations that shape us. So basically what I'm doing is sitting down over coffee, over tea, with different mothers and daughters and granddaughters who are amazing and have really deep, rich history together, have really good stories to share, because I thought it was just a great way to start off the new year, reminding ourselves of legacy and what we want to leave to the future generations. Just feels like a really good way to start. So I'm very excited because today features my very own in-laws. So I've got my mother-in-law and two sister-in-laws on the show, and they will just be talking about their childhood and their upbringing and some of the things they want to pass on to their kids someday. So without further ado, thank you, welcome, Happy New Year, and I hope you enjoy this episode of The Generations That Shape Us.
All the history and the prayers that shaped you come back multiplied upon my head, and it carries on all the good and all the bad to keep on adding to our story. Those eyes are getting older.
My name's Robin Bernhard. I'm the mom in this bunch, and I am 56 years old.
And I am Nikki, or Nicole Baumgart, and I am 33 years old.
My name is Abigail Smith, and I am 24.
Cool. And I'm Bernhard. Yeah, cool. So I was sharing just a minute ago, I just am excited about trying this out with you guys. I feel a little bit nervous because this is the first time I've done it this way. But really wanting to focus on like the stories of motherhood and being a daughter, and now you entering into motherhood. Well, you've been a mom for a while now, but just talking about that kind of stuff and just reflecting on how the different generations function now and what influenced each of you in your walk. So why don't we start out? Robin, would you just maybe share a little bit about what your background is, like as far as like you have a pretty big family. Just maybe share a little bit about your family life and where you grew up and all that stuff.
Yeah, I grew up there was 5 girls in my family, and there is a 12-year age difference between me and my next oldest sister. And my oldest sister is 18 years older than me. So because of that, I didn't have a lot of sibling rivalry and that kind of thing. What was really nice for me is that each one of my 4 sisters were excellent mothers, and I have lots of nieces and nephews, and because of their excellent mothering skills, that's really where I learned from, and they were just very loving and giving and self-sacrificing, and I was really fortunate to have such excellent examples in them. And they also were a big part of raising me as well, because my mother had some health issues and so forth, and because she was older when she had me, and my dad, back then dads were not quite as involved as they are now, and So anyway, I mean, I did have great parents, but my sisters were very, very, very important to me, and I learned a lot from them.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And then in college, I minored in child development, and so I took a lot of child development classes, and that also taught me so much, and I've always been really grateful for that. Because there was a time that I pretty much said that I wasn't going to have any kids. That was not a goal for me.
Wow.
Yeah, and I kind of had this viewpoint that the world was a bad place, and I didn't really want to bring, kids into it.
Yeah.
And then I remember Doug, their dad, said, well, what if you had the kids that, could solve a problem, or that you had somebody that could cure cancer or something like that. And so that kind of put a new spin on it.
Wow.
And I was so glad that I changed my mind, because I absolutely loved being pregnant. And, I mean, all 4 of my pregnancies, even with the nauseousness and everything, I loved every moment of it. And I loved giving birth, even though it was very, very painful. I absolutely loved it. I've never felt more beautiful in my life than when I was giving birth to my children. And I just remember once Nicole came, she's my oldest, I just felt like, oh my gosh, this is the meaning of my life. This is what I'm here for. And just loved it so much. And one of the biggest struggles I had as a mother, that was kind of when more of a movement was happening for moms to work outside the home and not be a stay-at-home parent. And I always wanted to be a stay-at-home parent. And for the most part, for Nicole and Brandon, my first 2, I was able to stay home. With Abby and Austin, who came later, I had to work. Not quite as much with Abby, more so with Austin, and that was really, really hard for me. Really, really hard. I mean, I can't beat myself up about it, but I mean, still to this day, it's almost like I want to feel guilty about it, and I know I can't. So, but yeah, that's kind of my little corner.
And you guys have an interesting family dynamic in that, like you said, you had 2 kids early on, and then how many years is the gap between
8
between Brandon and Abby, right?
Yep.
8-year gap. Did you and that was a surprise, right?
Right.
And then was Austin your youngest planned?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah.
How was
Nicole,
that gap?
Well, I'll just go back real quick, but Nicole was definitely planned. Even though Brandon came a year later, he was planned too, because I loved being pregnant and having a baby. I couldn't wait to do it again. I just couldn't.
Aww.
And so they were both planned, and then after it happened, it's like, oh my gosh, are we crazy or what? But I mean, you just go through it. It was really intense, because Brandon was a very, very colicky baby. He cried a lot. So there was all that. But yeah, 2, I was good with 2. And then Abby was a little surprised, and we were so happy and thankful and blessed that she came along. But once I had her, I just always had the thing that I either wanted 2 or 4. I don't know why. It was just my thing. So I couldn't wait, for Austin to come along.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So I'd like to ask just really quick, what was that like for you guys as sisters, having that age gap? I know you don't know any different, right? But what was that like growing up? I mean, you're quite a bit older than Abby.
Yeah, I think I was, because of me and Brandon, we were together pretty much kind of like twins the whole time. And I had begged, I think we both begged Mom and Dad to have more kids, over and over for years and years and years. And I finally just got to the point where I gave up, because they pretty much were like, no, it's not going to happen. So then I think finally when I was like, okay, it's never going to happen, it's just me and Brandon. Then all of a sudden, Mom and Dad told us they were having a baby, and I think me and Brandon were just didn't even know what to do. It was just such a shock and surprise, but we were really, really happy, and it was so cool, because I was 9 and Abby was born, and so it was just so cool to have a little baby. I think as a little girl, it's not just a doll, your actual baby. And so Abby has always felt like my sister, but also I feel like I'm a mini mom or something
that's
for her. And I don't know, people always say, oh, it's with the age gap and things like that, but to me it never really seemed weird, probably because both my parents had sort of similar, my mom had, like she was saying, the big gap, and then on my dad's side, kind of the same thing happened, so that was my normal, is hearing those stories my whole life, so I never thought it was weird or anything to have the gap, and I don't know. I thought it was so cool, and I always wanted to do her hair and take care of her, and when she was born, I was just so happy. Like, I just remember seeing her bright blue eyes open, and
wow, that's so
it was
cool.
I loved it. It was so awesome. And then when I got older, you know, like in middle school and stuff, you know, she was always coming around. And then in high school, when she started going to kindergarten, like, I got to bring her to school.
Oh my god.
And so maybe it's a different sort of sister relationship, maybe, but I don't know.
You don't know.
Yeah,
that's so precious.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. What was it like for you, Abby?
I always liked having an older sibling just because I recognize it now more so, but just like I always felt like there was somebody kind of looking out for me, and like not somebody I had to compete with, but just somebody I could enjoy life with. And I was just thinking about something that like it got really sad for me when like Nikki and Brandon went off to school because I was in 3rd grade when they moved out. But then it kind of like added like an exciting factor when they were coming home. Like I think it just made it that much, I don't know, that much stronger that like I had such an anticipation for them to come home and like spend time with them. I think it like made me treasure the time with them a little bit more.
Oh, that's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, Nikki, what was it like then when you got married and like just decided to have kids? Like, what was that process like?
Yeah, I think it feels like it's been so long. It really has. Yeah, I was really excited. There was there was a time in my life where I thought I was never gonna have kids. It wasn't, because I've always been really career driven, very goal oriented, and very, I don't know. I just thought like there was a time when I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna ever have kids, and then we did.
Like because of career stuff specifically?
Career stuff, and then I just was kind of like, it's just not for me.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't really know that I ever want to have kids, and I want to travel and do stuff. And so, but then when I got married, I think that changed when I found the love of my life, Ryan, and stuff. And then we had Jackson, and I think it's the same feeling that every mom feels when you have your baby. It's just like, oh my gosh, this is the meaning of life. And it was just so awesome to be a mom. And so I loved it. It was a lot of work. I think Jackson was like a difficult baby. Probably just a first time parent, but I think he kept us on our toes and was up and didn't sleep a lot, and it was a lot of work. And so I think for a long time we thought maybe Jackson would be it, or / we're going to wait a long time before we have our second child. And so then we had Brooklyn. Was actually a surprise. We did get to a point where we thought, once he turns 4, we'll start trying to have another one. And she came a little bit before that, so she was a total surprise, Brooklyn. So I have a little boy and a little girl, and that Brooklyn has been so... I thought I would only have boys because my husband comes from all boys, and I just thought it was a genetic thing, like it was a girl. But Brooklyn is just... She's so sweet. That my kids are kind of opposite of each other a little bit, and Brooklyn is sort of opposite of me in a lot of ways, but she just completes me.
Oh,
so, yeah.
So cool.
It's been really cool, and now I'm really enjoying like that they're older. Like I don't know. Of course, I like the baby stage, but I really like the independence that they have, and I really like. I think I'm always drawn to older kids.
Yeah.
And so I feel really excited about like the stage that they're in right now. It's fun.
That's so cool. What are some things that like both of you like have felt like? Because Abby, you just got married a year ago, right? And like, what are some things, I always think about this, I don't know if you do this, but I'll just be minding my own business in my life, and then I'll realize I've just done something exactly like my mom does it, or I'll say something and be like, oh my god, that was just like mom. Have you guys experienced that at all in your like changes in life stages, and like I don't know, maybe share about that a little bit? Abby, do you want to go first?
Sure. Well, I always knew growing up that my mom was like the cleanest person alive. Like she was just kind of like a neat freak, and honestly it kind of drove me nuts most of my life. And I realized later on, I put it together in my brain that like my mom, I always felt like I was doing it just for her, but then I realized like no, she wants it to benefit like the whole house. Like this is benefiting everybody, to keep like a nice clean space. And so I kind of always perceived myself as like the sloppy, messy one. I was like, I'm never going to be as clean as my mom. And then for some reason, like when I kind of realized it when I started having roommates, but like for sure when I got married, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like seriously turning to my mom, like wiping down the counters every night. And like, I just did not think I would ever be like this neat and tidy.
Wow.
And like my house isn't clean like 100% of the time, but like, I don't know, that's just one thing that I got from her that I didn't think I ever would.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
Air five. Yeah.
I would say that's something I've grown into is like understand. I would also agree that mom was always like keep it clean, da 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 da, and like trying to please her. And I'm still not there yet, but it's something that I can appreciate more, especially, and I can understand why having 4 kids / 6 people in the house, why you would want to keep things in order because it would just get totally crazy, and that would be very stressful from a mom's point of view. And so. I think it's something that, like, we recently have started to work on, like, cleaning. We clean once a week, all the way down. And then we try throughout the week to keep it organized, and then we redo it on the weekends again.
Oh,
so
nice.
I'm trying to teach my kids to take care of themselves and understand, like, why to do that. So I think that's something... And then I think mom's always been super overprotective, like around edges or doing dangerous things. And I think that I'm pretty like helicopter parent when it comes to some things that my kids do.
Sure.
My husband doesn't understand why I'm like that, and I think it's my mom. So.
If I could interject something real quick, it was, I don't know, sparked me. I remember when I was pregnant with Abby, and I was going to take off time she was going to come pretty soon, and I think I allowed myself like a week before to like completely thoroughly clean the house because I knew that once the baby came, it was going to be hard. And, you know, with working and everything, I knew that, I mean, everything was just a mess. It was just a mess, and I just kept putting everything off because I knew I was going to do this really thorough house cleaning. And I can remember one morning coming downstairs, and so you would have been 9, and you took a sponge and you were like cleaning off the toaster, and you made some kind of comment like, what has happened to our house? Because it's never looked like this ever.
Hilarious.
And so they were like trying their best to pitch in, and of all the things, she's cleaning the toaster with a sponge. Which I normally don't use sponges. I don't even know why I had a sponge in the house.
That is so cute.
And I know Brandon was doing something too. But they're just like, I don't know what has happened to Mother, but she lost it, and we're going to have to come forth.
Oh my God. Do you have any things, Robin, that you like, I don't know, like picked up from your mom or sisters that you are grateful for or like think about sometimes?
I'm sure there's lots of little things. For sure there's lots of traditions that we've done.
Yeah.
Especially now with the holidays coming up. You kind of think about it. But like my grandparents, my aunt, definitely my mom, and I, and now my daughters are doing it, making what we call pepper nuts.
Yes.
It's a German cookie. If you pronounced it in the German language, it would be Pfeffernuss.
Okay.
But they're just a little round cookie, and they have molasses in them and anise, and a lot of people do not care for them, but we've all been raised with them, and it's...
Soak them in your coffee.
Yeah, you soak them in your coffee. Let them soak in the coffee for a little bit, and we love them.
That's so cool. I know. I remember you sending Brandon like big bagfuls, like when we were dating, and then also like since we've been married, and it's such a sweet thing to like have around the house. Oh, that's so cool. Any stories that come to mind that are like funny or that are interesting?
Me and Brandon, we would watch her a lot, or I don't know if like I'm not just I mean, Mom would be there, I think, and we would hang out with Abby a lot and
keep her entertained, so I could do something.
Oh yeah.
Oh
my gosh, was that nice having like the older kids?
It was so nice, and I've always been a big believer. It's like you don't have kids to be your babysitters for other kids, but so I always was mindful of that because I never wanted to make them think that I was taking advantage of them or whatever. But of course, there was times that they would have to watch her. And mostly they did, a pretty good job. But I know.
Yeah, I think that's something that me and Brandon bonded over with like Abby and Austin. Abby especially because it was just so cool to have like a little sister, and would play with her. Like, we'd take her out to the the sandbox, and like, me and Abby would make these little cakes out of sand and, just do cool stuff. And then Brandon would always try to make her laugh, and we would just do a whole bunch of different things to make Abby laugh or get, like, an expression out of her. And so,
I heard one story about beans, like a bean.
Oh my gosh.
They made you eat beans or something?
It was like a green bean. I think Bernhard gave it to me.
It's like a spicy
I was
Oh.
not old enough to remember, but I guess my face was pretty priceless after he put that bean in my mouth.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, he's tried to do a couple things like that with Bobby.
Yeah, I
That's
think
pretty cute.
one thing I remember about Abby was, like, because when I was, like, more of a teenager in high school and stuff, and I think every high schooler is just kind of, like, into themselves and into their friends and stuff, and Abby always wanted to be, like, part of the crew, and that was maybe one of the parts that was probably harder, I would say, with the age gap. I mean, it was fun because all my friends loved having her around and stuff. But we wanted to do kind of like high school things, and she wanted to do stuff like it. But she would always make a scene, like she would sing to us.
Oh my god.
She'd be hilarious.
She'd put like a
You can tell, like,
blanket over her
forest
head
song.
and sing like "I'm the King of the Forest" from The Wizard of Oz. She like put a show on for us, and we would laugh so hard because she didn't want to go to bed and she just wanted to hang out with us. So those were some funny times and some cool things. I don't know what Abby has. What do you remember?
For some reason, two things I always remember is we always played like she had like these bears. We would play like three little bears with her stuffed bears in the farmhouse. And then I always remember in the summertime when Nikki would watch us, me and Austin she would sleep in because she was a teenager, but we're like young and awake early, whatever. So we would like get like hairbrushes and like bang on her bedroom door and be like, "Wake up, Nikki! I'd wake up," and then I would go in and I would like lift open her eyelids. "Nikki, come play with me."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think that kind of awoke me to like what it's like to be a parent.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
oh my god, these kids want to come play with me, and I am definitely still tired.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then this is one of my favorite memories with Nikki is every night we would like sing that song from Barney, like "I love you, you love me." We would always sing that, and then she would always kiss my cheeks because my cheeks were like really big and fat when I was little. So she would like pinch them and kiss them every night, and now like whenever we see each other, that's what we do.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute.
Yeah.
Oh. Now, like, I've heard a lot of stories about the farm that you guys, I mean, I know you and Brandon were raised primarily, like, on the farm, too, but do you have any, like, stories from that? Like, what was that like for you? Nikki, were you guys
I
on
was
the
6
farm
years
still?
old when we moved.
When you moved. So you had experiences there, too.
Yeah.
I saw some,
Videos.
like, a clip, recently of you playing with kittens and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
that's so cool. That's, like, foreign to me. Like, I mostly grew up in suburbs and stuff, so it's just cool to hear about that. Like,
Yeah, I'm like very thankful that's where I grew up. It was just like the most gorgeous house
in Iowa.
Yeah, in Iowa.
Just a
big, huge house, big, huge farmhouse. Like so much, like you could play outside. I mean, just tons of land, animals everywhere. So that was kind of my normal. Not that I'm huge into like farming or even, I don't even think I was super outdoorsy all the time, but it was just such a cool place to grow up. So I'm really thankful for that. And like, we played out in the woods. We had a rock quarry. We would go all these things now that I realize are super not normal, but were normal to us. Like we just had huge tree forts, and you could run around so much, and we would go play up with the neighbors and stuff like that. And it felt very safe, even though there was a lot of dangerous things there. But I mean, just like we would go play and jump in the barn and play with the cats, and like there was so many cool things to do. So
Climb all the hay bales, find all the baby kittens.
oh my gosh.
yeah, and when we moved, I was just devastated. I was like so sad because it was a family tradition. It had been in our family for over 100 years.
Wow.
And so it felt really horrible to be like, oh, we're the family that's like breaking that tradition. And, just my grandpa would come a lot and hang out there and help out at the farm and stuff. So that was really hard. But also once we moved, that's because I was really into tradition.
Yeah.
And I was all about, like, Christmas has to be a certain way and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, nothing will ever be the same. And then when we moved, I think that was actually good for me because I realized that, like, you know, a home is just a home and, like, life goes on and it can still be good and things don't have to be a certain way. And so...
That's really cool, actually. Wow.
Yeah.
What about you guys? What do you think?
I just love the cats. That's pretty much all I remember. And I'm just rolling around in the flowers, and I had my own slide. I got a slide for like my 5th birthday, and then we moved the next year.
The slide stayed there.
The slide stayed there.
It did? Oh.
So it was big.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was fun being there. Brandon had this little fort out in the woods called Monkey Island.
Oh my god.
We would always go there.
That's so cute.
It was fun.
I actually got engaged there.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I'm so glad I have a memory there.
There you go.
Robin, what was that like for you? Just like living there?
I certainly, you know, I have probably a completely opposite, different perspective. You know, and it kind of makes me feel a little bit bad because I am probably the reason that, you know, we moved, but I was trying to look at things realistically. You know, keeping up a farm takes a lot of work, a lot of attention. At the time, my husband had some pretty serious health issues. There's no way that I could keep up with that. Just the lawn in itself was a big thing. And
How big was it exactly? Because I've heard a couple different numbers.
We're not the people to ask. It was huge because we had a couple different farms at one point, so that added to the land. It was definitely a historical piece for the family. Because not that particular farm, but a different farm is where Doug's mom and dad started, and we had owned that land at one time too. And I mean, way back to the point that they didn't have running water in the house. They'd have to go outside, and he'd wash her hair in the pump water.
Oh my gosh.
It's all very wonderful, but
very romantic sounding, but in reality it's
it is.
Different story.
The other thing about this farm, which, let's see, so that would have been Doug's grandparents, I guess, are the ones that started out there, I think. Either grandparents or great-grandparents. But anyway, they, so when they retired, that's when Doug's mom and dad moved down there then. And it had a very long driveway. I mean, it was like a mile long just to get, you know, from the house to, like, a decent road.
Yeah.
So in the wintertime, that would drift. And it was always hard to get in and out. I mean, I remember when Brandon was born, I mean, we barely made it out because we had to leave to go to the hospital in the middle of the night. And, you know, you didn't really want to start the tractor and plow the road before. And it was cold and all that. And so, yes, it was all wonderful, but it takes a lot of upkeep. You have to have a lot of energy. It was just it was time that something had to change. And I'm thankful for all the memories we had there. And it was a very beautiful place. Yeah.
It's so interesting because, like, I remember, this is not in any way, like, trying to compare, but I'm just trying, like, in my mind, trying to be, like understanding both sides, because it's so sweet to hear the memories of, like, the kids who experienced the beauty and the, like, simplicity and the whatever of the farm and everything. But I remember even, like, when my family would go camping, my parents were very much like, this is really fun for you guys and we really like it, but you need to see, like, there's a lot of work that goes into it and it's not fun for us all the time. Like, there's stuff we have to do that's not fun, like, to make the fun things worth it.
Yeah.
And so it's just, I appreciate your, like, honesty with saying, like, yeah, it was cool, but it was not easy and there's so much that goes into it. Like, because I think that's so hard, like, too, as a kid. You don't understand, or it's hard to understand or, like, cope with, like, a big change, like a move or something. But now, like, I'm realizing as I get older and now having Bobby, like, yeah, like, stuff has to change sometimes, stuff has to happen, but that can be an opportunity for growth. And I love even what you were saying, Nicole, about, like, that you realized, oh, that was actually probably a good thing for me, like, experiencing that. I just think that's really neat.
Yeah, I guess that's another thing I would add, too, is that, I don't know, something about Nicole's personality. She always really, she was all, like, once you did it one way, it was always going to be that way. Like, birthdays had to be very hyped up. You know, Christmas had to be a certain way. We had to have certain food. She really, really, really wanted it to be a certain way. And really kind of all the kids did, but I kind of sensed that she was a little bit more that way. And as a mother, I guess that would be my warning, because don't start out with big birthdays. Build it, maybe, or tell them from the get-go, we're not going to do this every year, because, it's hard, because children are children, and they understand things differently than adults do. So, But, we all learn and grow. And
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit, Abby, about like what it was like just this past year getting married, and what that transition was like for you? And but you lived away from home before you got married and stuff, but how has that been? I know family is super important to you. At least every time I talk to you or I'm around you, I just love the way that you talk about your family and the way that you want to connect and, I don't know, engage with everybody. So what's that been like for you in the past year? Like,
well, marriage has been great. I really like being married. I don't know, I always dreamt about it, and my family was very, like, supportive and all of that. But it's definitely been, like, a shift, because, now you have another person's family to think about, which is awesome, because, I always think it's cool, like, when your heart makes more room to just love more people. But, I feel very blessed with the family I have, especially, like, I grew up in a very small town where, like, families were usually tight-knit, and then, like, I moved to a bigger city, I meet more people, I learn about, of course I knew about, like, broken families and whatnot, like, growing up, but, like, just to actually be close to someone or to different people that whose family situation wasn't exactly like mine is kind of challenging, and it kind of, I don't know, makes me feel like sometimes it's hard to, like, not feel bad about, like, oh, my family was awesome, but it's definitely made me, like, treasure it a little bit more, and especially, coming together this year, that's been, like, one thing that has really been on my heart is, like, like, I was sourced out of a family full of, like, love and compassion, and, like, those kind of families are, like, definitely important, because I've just been able to, like, love others that much better, and, like, I don't know, I feel like that's, like, my main value in my family is that, like, they have equipped me with, like, a selfless love.
That's
to
so
just
cool.
Love other people, and that's what I really value.
I love that. Wow.
Does that kind of answer the question?
Yeah, totally. Totally.
Yeah.
I love that. That's really precious, and it's totally evident. I really do. I love this family so much. Like, I told Bernhard, last night when we were going to bed, I was like, I love your family so much. Because I grew up with a small family, and we don't have a ton of cousins, and I didn't live near family, like, extended family when I was young. And I know we don't live, obviously, we're not very close. I think Nicole and I were closer than, you guys, but it is so fun for me to, like, be a part of a bigger family. You guys are so fun. And it is cool. Like, there's so many different personalities, and, like, I don't know. You guys do, it seem like you just blend well. Like, you have your moments, right? But, like, that's what family is about,
That's, like, one of my favorite parts about our family. It's just, like, how different we all are.
Yeah, totally. I think it's really special. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of cool, because yesterday was a little bit stressful trying to get our pictures ready and everything, but yet when we got there and did it, the whole experience was just beautiful, and we all really enjoyed each other, and it was really awesome.
Yeah, it was so fun.
Yep. Our Arizona Thanksgiving.
I know, that's so special.
We always have stressful times, but then good times too. So I feel like growing up in a big family is chaotic, and you just gotta learn to roll with it.
Embrace the crazy.
I'd like to ask you guys about your thoughts on, like you mentioned it earlier, like being a stay-at-home mom and then having to work. And then for you, Nicole, you work. Like what, and Abby, even, I'd love to hear your thoughts about what you would want and that kind of thing too, once you guys have kids. Lord, let it be soon.
And what was it like I guess maybe.
Yeah, totally. What was it like growing up with
Mom gone
like
and
having
mom.
the differences of, you know, you were stay at home when, you know, that kind of thing. So, yeah. What maybe you could start off just sharing, like,
Yeah, I mean,
because you experienced both, like.
Yeah, I did. You know, my mom stayed home with me, you know, so, and like I said, that's kind of, I mean, even though there was tons of women working at the time when I was having kids already, it just was becoming less and less common for anybody to stay home with their kids. And I guess I just always wanted to because, you know, that's what I was used to. I wanted to be there for them. It's not that I thought I was perfect by any means, but I just thought, you know, how reassuring for the kids to be at school or the kids to be whatever and just know that, hey, mom's home if I need her. You know, she can come if you know, if I get sick or whatever. And I always liked, if possible, to have everything clean and organized when they got home, and you know, maybe cookies there, not every time, but you know, something, a snack of some sort when they got home, and you know, just a routine. It just made it easier to have a routine. Everything was much less stressful when I was home, and you know, I wanted to do it for them mostly, but a lot of it was for me too, just to keep peace, because otherwise it was just extremely stressful. Like I said, you know, the kids were like, God, what has happened to our mother? Because I was so tired and I couldn't, you know, with working, I just couldn't keep up, and everything just kind of got not so great. So, it's always been an inner struggle for me. I you know, I always feel for Nikki because she's been doing it from day one, and you know, that's her choice and that's what she wants to do, and she's done a very, very, very successful job of it, and really, I'm very proud of her. I mean, she's been able to do both very, very well. But at the same time, I always think, oh my God, how does she do it? I bet she wishes she was, you know, whatever. So, I don't know. And I take my, you know, hat off to you because you're staying at home with Bobby, and that's so wonderful. And if you can make it work, that's wonderful.
Yeah, totally. And I like talking about this kind of thing in particular just because everyone's so different, and like the drive, like for sure I have a drive, like I know that I'll want something on the side for myself, but I have so loved the being home too at the same time. So it's like so interesting, especially within this family, to hear like the differences of like, so maybe Nicole will share a little bit about your perspective and whatever that looks like for you.
I think like as a kid, I felt, I don't think you really understand or know any different, but as a kid, reflecting now, I feel like very fortunate to have a stay-at-home mom. I think it was good, and it was like that. I felt very comfortable and nurtured, and there was cookies a lot of times, like always the first day of school. Like I know that she would have cookies like ready, or apple crisp or something when you came home.
That's so
like,
cool.
Smell so good, and so I think I can see the benefits of, you know, her doing that. I think it was awesome. And then, you know, I could tell when she went to work too, and she went back to school, things were a little bit different. I mean, I think me and Brandon survived and did things different. We probably spent a little bit more time with our dad or grandma and grandpa, stuff like that. And so that was cool too, but I could tell a difference in that. But I think I'm just like, you know, we talk about everybody being different and stuff like that. I always felt like, you know, Mom was always like cooking and cleaning, and then I saw my grandma always cooking and cleaning, and that just wasn't me. I was like, I can't do this. Like, I don't want to. I hate cooking. I hate cleaning. Like, I'm driven by other things, and so I was just like, I never, ever, ever want to do this. I remember thinking that so many times. And I don't know. It just is not who I am. I'm thankful for people that can and want to. And I think, honestly, with having Abby and Austin, too, like, when we watched them, it was good, but I was like, this is a lot of work. Like, I think I could already see that then. And so... I just like, I have to always be working and doing stuff to feel like alive and driven, and so it was never really a question for me if I would go, you know, if I would stay home. I did with Jackson. I took the first 12 weeks off, and that was awesome, and I'm really thankful for that. And I was teaching at the time, so then I went back to work for a couple months, and then I had the full summer off when he was first born, and I felt really fortunate for that. But by the time Brooklyn was born, I think I only took 6 6 to 8 weeks off. I didn't take the full 12, and I was ready to go back to work, but we were really blessed to find really good daycare options where I always felt like, hey, this is really good. And then I think I found like a wonderful husband that really, 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 really helps with the kids. And so I think I just try to see it as like they're getting something from daycare. They're getting me as a mom because I won't feel fulfilled if I'm not working. But yeah, there's days when it's really hard. And there's days when it's super hard. But I'm sure there's days being a stay-at-home mom that is super hard too.
Totally.
So
no, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, and okay, so tell us what you do for work.
Yep. So I was a teacher for 5 years, and then I was an instructional coach, and now I'm an assistant principal at a high school here in Arizona.
That's so cool.
I work with high school students.
Yeah. That's crazy, man. You're drawn to the older kids.
I'm really drawn to the older kids.
That's pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah.
Well, so just this year, I actually started working at a daycare, and that has, like, really opened up my eyes to this whole phenomena of stay at home, take your kids to daycare, whatever. And one day, I think just a couple months after I was working there, I, like, found myself really questioning, like, did I go to daycare my whole life? Like, what was that like? And so I called my mom, and she told me the whole story, how, like, when Nikki was born, she, like, found her niche, and she was so happy to be home. And then, like, what? Okay. And then, like, she told me that with me, you know, she was able to stay home for, like, the first 2 years. And, I don't know, just, like, I think that daycare is a great thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But I think that just even from being there, it just has really shown me that, like, I would want to stay at home because, like, I'm watching all of these awesome things happening with these, you know, infants and toddlers, and I'm like, man, like, what if they start walking when they're here? Like, their parents are gonna miss that, or whatever, and that would, like, make me cringe. And just, like, you know, having that, like, solid relationship of trust with your child, I really value that, and so if I can, I would really love to stay home, or at least, like, maybe work part-time or something like that, just to have that, like, strong bond and relationship. Not that you don't when you're working, but
no, totally.
Yeah, I don't know. I try to not get too opinionated on it because
I know
I'm not a mom yet.
Well, and it's hard, like, after talking to so many different moms, like, through this podcast, like, I'm like, every time I'm just like, oh my gosh, everybody's situation is so different and so unique. But I think it's really cool to, like, hear everyone's story and, like, their desires and, like, what they want, because, like, everyone's so unique and special and different. But it's so interesting. This is something that I kind of picked up. I don't even know that this is right, but it's so interesting. Like, I know, Robin, you did a lot of, like, teaching when you were younger, right? Specifically with, like, teaching young moms, kind of. Would you share a little bit about that?
Sure. And then I don't want to forget to talk about grandparents, because that was a really important part of it.
Yes, I would love to touch on that.
Yeah, when Abby was 2, I started working at a family resource center, which basically their main goal was it was a grant-funded program, and it was a grant to prevent child abuse. And so part of that was building on parents' strengths, and teaching parenting classes. We would do home visits. We had a toy and resource lending library. We installed car seats. We even went into the jail and the prison and did like fathering classes.
Wow.
So, and that was really helpful to me too, because then I had access to like a zillion different books and a zillion different curriculums, and you know, talking with other people that work there too, and just really, really awesome. Especially discipline. That was our main thing. Because obviously kids need discipline.
Yeah.
That particular place, because their focus was to prevent child abuse, they did not, what do I want to say? They did not believe in capital punishment. So, and I used to believe in spanking years ago, and working there really kind of helped. I don't know, I did kind of change my mind about that through working there. For one thing, I don't think I was aware of all the different options and ways to deal with things that, in my opinion, work a lot better.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a golden nugget for me, because I never thought I would change on that.
Wow.
But I really did. I don't think the kids are any worse for the wear. They did get a few spankings.
Oh, I got spanked all the time when I was little. Yeah.
I just, now when I look back at it, it's like, oh my gosh, you could have handled that so differently. But, you know, we learn as we go. We learn as we go, and whatever. So, talk about Grandma and Grandpa, or you want to go back?
Well, yeah, it's just interesting. I think it's just kind of neat, like your involvement in the things that you kind of poured into, like, seem to have kind of dribbled down even. I don't know if that's intentional or if that's even right, but I just think it's so cool. You're like in teaching and like involved with children, and then you are in a sense too. But I just think that's so interesting, and I love kind of, you know, connecting those dots or whatever, like the kind of the legacy that you started to build with them. Like, I don't know, I think it's really beautiful.
I was always like interested in her career, like really? What she was doing. I mean, it's such a, when you think about it, I don't really think there's that many family resource centers out there.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
I've not really heard of that before.
The one there closed down.
Wow.
You know, how the government, you know, with different political figures and so forth, and how everything has changed.
Sure.
There's just not money out there for stuff like that. Because their focus, like I said, was prevention, and we're not driven that way so much these days.
Yeah. She would always share stories and, you know, and things that she encountered, and I thought that was interesting. And the resource center was cool, so I think I was always interested by that place. And, you know, there was always books, like I remember when we did potty training, there was books and movies.
It's potty time.
I remember, like, Mom telling us, like, what that, not that it's that complicated, but just, you don't think about those things when you're a kid, and I think, like, they had books, and they had stuff to, like, help people with that.
That's amazing.
Again, that's another thing that's probably not normal, but it seemed normal to me. Like,
that's so special.
The other really neat thing about that place is that it was really flexible. So, I don't remember Abby quite so much, but I'm sure she did too. But a lot of Austin, they would come to work with me if they were sick.
Oh, that's
and I would
so cool.
just make like a little area that they kind of stayed in, and then they weren't, you know, by people, and I just kind of stayed at my desk or whatever. And Austin's got lots of memories of that.
Aww.
Yeah.
That's really amazing. Any other thoughts on that stuff? That's great. I love it.
You liked the toys when I would bring home the toys, because we had that toy and resource.
Oh, really?
We had like there was one that was like a puppet dog. I named him Bart because our dog at home was named Bart.
Oh.
He was like my favorite toy there.
Oh,
yeah,
that's so cute. Okay, yeah, I'd love to talk about grandparents. What are some of your thoughts on that?
Well, for us,
and then talk about what it's been like being a grandparent.
Oh,
yourself.
Yes. Oh gosh, yes. So for us, even though I was a stay-at-home mom, like Nikki said, I went back to work or back to college, finished my degree, then eventually started working. I don't know how we would have ever done it without the grandparents, because they were always our safety net, and not only were they there to help us, but they were very, very happy to do it, and they have always embraced and celebrated children, and it was their honor. They never ever felt, like they were being taken advantage of or anything like that. Just whenever, whatever, they'd come at the drop of a hat. They'd drive to our house, or we could drop the kids off there, and it was so reassuring to know that, not only were they going to be safe, but they were going to be loved.
Right.
While we were gone, and celebrated, and, they'd play games with them, and they'd cook with them, and make cookies, and do wild, crazy things that probably some grandparents wouldn't do. Like go in the basement and play music, and
we had a swing in the basement.
Swing in the basement, yeah.
Well, the cellar, that's what it was called.
Oh, yeah, they called it the cellar.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So, as a parent, that was just so, so, so reassuring. And we always knew we were very lucky and blessed. And there was a few vacations we took, and the kids would stay with them for a week or whatever.
Or they would take us on vacation.
Yes, they did.
Way. Yeah, they took us to a couple different spots. Like cousins. I don't think ever with Abby. I think they were too old.
Yeah, they got kind of older for that.
Oh, my God. I love that.
That was really cool. And then as far as being a grandparent, it's absolutely wonderful. It's as wonderful as it is to be a mother. It's times a zillion to be a grandparent. But again, the struggle, because I know that when I think about how helpful and wonderful it was to have the grandparents there, and I'm so far away from mine. And so that makes it hard. But, we do the best we can, and I'm really lucky to have really fun moments so far with them, and I've been able to come here and stay with them while Nicole.
I would say, I feel like that's another wonderful part about my childhood is both on the Bernhard side, my grandma and grandpa, so many good memories with them, taking us fishing out on the farm, doing so many, making baskets, making cookies, it was never just go there and watch TV. And then my other grandma too, so cool. We just kind of had a special bond and relationship. Like I would do her hair and we would do nails and stuff like that. So that is really cool, and I feel blessed to have the grandparents. And I think that's also like part of my philosophy on parenting is like I don't think it should just be the mom and dad. I think it should be like influential people in the kid's life, whether it's daycare or whoever. I think like kids can gain a lot from your little village net.
Yeah, totally.
And then I would say, even though mom is far away, when she comes, like, and spends time with the kids, or she has watched our kids when we go on vacations, like, she's made really, really good memories with them and helped us a ton.
That's amazing.
Might not be every day like what we had, but when she comes, it's good.
That's so special. Yeah. What are some of your memories of grandparent stuff?
Well, my grandpa, so he would always ride on a cart, like when we would go outside, like an electric cart. And when we went to the park, he would let me drive it.
No way! That's the best.
Yeah, so he taught me how to drive it, and like, I don't know, when she was just kind of reminiscing on them, I remember when we were moving them out of their house, I just realized, like, I've learned so many life skills in this house. Like, my grandpa taught me how to tie my shoes. And, like, I learned how to read my first book there. Wow. There was a book about a bunny, and Bunny went around and had fun with all of his friends. I don't know. My grandma, she would always make pancakes in the shapes of different animals.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't know. They would always play games with us. They'd always have candy for us.
Yes.
My grandpa would have like a big tray of candy, and I'd be like, I want this one. Oh, just kidding, I want this one. He's like, nope, the first one you touch is the one you gotta take. And he's like, you gotta taste it with your eyes.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, Grandpa.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Man, that's pretty amazing. I remember, Robin, just like you talking about, like, we make it work even though it's hard and stuff. Like, I'm realizing now, like, how special it is to even have my parents close by with Bobby. Like, we obviously, like, we miss you guys all the time, and, like, it's so special that we get to have moments with you. But I do see, like, my family lived away from most of our extended family for most of my life. And that was hard, like, and I think my parents are realizing now that their grandparents, like, what did we do? Like, those hard moments, like, so I also don't want to, like, diminish the fact that that is a hard thing, and, like, but I'm also so grateful for technology today, too. Like, I've heard stories of, family members saying, like, oh, yeah, like, we FaceTime with our grandparents or whatever, so when we're with the kids, like, they're not afraid or they're not, shy or whatever, so shout out to the technology.
Yeah.
But, yeah. You guys are making me want cookies. Speaking of cookies, though, that's so funny that you said that Robin would make cookies all the time, because we came downstairs, I think the first day we were here, and there were like 100 cookies on the counter. Like, these pumpkin chocolate chip cookies have just, like, pounded them.
And that was part of Nikki. I mean, she had all the ingredients there. She had kind of planned all this.
Passing it down.
She's passing it down, yeah. It's like, well, we're gone. You can make these with the kids.
Yeah.
And I did, and it worked out beautiful, because obviously we needed
cool.
something to munch on here,
so
too.
Good. I should make some more before you go. Aw, that's so good.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
We should get if she's
Brooklyn up
yeah,
here?
like get her
I
up here. We
can
could
see
have her
her.
say like some things she likes about you guys or something. I just want her little voice on there. Tell us what you love about your mama.
What's your favorite thing?
What's your favorite thing? Like stuff that you do with her or that she does for you.
What's your favorite thing that we do?
Make cookies.
There's a theme.
It's a bit better.
Cookies.
Yeah.
Making cookies.
You
That's
do like
awesome.
to make cookies.
That's a perfect stopping point. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's interview. Please share this with a friend if it impacted you in any way, and leave a review on iTunes so other mamas can hear the truth that they are enough and they are doing their very best. Be sure to catch up on what's happening in the Mommispace community every day on Instagram at Mommispace. And you can email me at mommispace@gmail.com for questions or interview recommendations. All my love to you, Mama. You're amazing. See you next week.
Just to say that I